We are back live at the Audible Angle, broadcasting in over 695 countries across the solar system. All excited from yesterday's football action. I think we'll start with a little production meeting, take you guys behind the scenes as to what goes into a podcast. Urbs, I was thinking we go football, football, football as a format today. Your thoughts?
Pro Nation College.
Affirmative.
Sounds good. Oh,
Let's
great
set the
pre-production
scene.
meeting. That was good.
Yeah, pre-production. We are live. Um, let's paint a picture for the listeners and viewers, of which there are many, of course. Yesterday morning, what did your Thanksgiving slash football feast preparation look like?
Preparation's pretty simple. Took a ride over to see Gav and Deb prior to arriving a little bit early to the family get together, the Urben family get together. I wanted to get there. Technically, lunch wasn't until 1, but I didn't want to miss any of the Packer games, so I got there at 11, did a little pre-gaming with the Rents, and then got prepared for the big day, which was obviously a positive day in Packer Nation.
Yeah, we did, as mentioned earlier, the sponsored pre-party at Steve-O's. In reality, that was a trickeration to keep people from arriving at the house too early. We have had in the past when we've hosted, I won't name names, but it is my only sister one year showed up. We're going to eat at like 1, watch football early. I think it was about 9 a.m. I hear some rustling on the front porch, and she had like 2 tubs of stuff and was going to make her stuffing and bang around. And around these parts on holidays, we sleep in pretty deep into the morning. So that was the strategy this year. That was many years ago, but the strategy this year was let's hype up everybody meeting at a local establishment that was open and then just arrive. I arrived 17 minutes before kickoff, fired up the TVs, and then everybody else arrived 13 minutes before kickoff and just flipped on the food to warm up and eat as you go and expend all energy watching the game. And I pretty much, after the game, switched the TVs to the next game and pretty much hit the off switch for about the entire Cowboy versus who the hell they play? The Chiefs? Pretty much hit the snooze button for that game.
That's a false start on your sister's part. I won't use her name, Stacy. Nice work. Did you give her did you raise any hell? Was there a couple of Thanksgiving that didn't lose or leave the conversation?
I don't think I gave her hell in that moment. I just like tiptoed and tried to whisper so I didn't get an angry daughter or wife. But it was it was a little more action than we were expecting at that time in the morning. So I went ahead and from that point forward kind of took over cooking duties and if we were going to be at my house anyway and kind of framed it around we're basically watching football and maybe eating is kind of a side thing that we also do, but it's mainly football and beers. That kind of thins out the herd uh, from people looking for a traditional Thanksgiving sit down. But all in all, it was a success. A lot of high energy Packer fans were in attendance, and that was a pretty fun game to watch. Pretty exciting, but the type of exciting that I'm most comfortable with, which is kind of always had the lead. We're never on the edge of out of control of the game. And what were your key takeaways in there throughout the game or in the early stages at the very least?
Well, I mean, today. I'm not. I mean, of course, being a Packer fan, I'm happy today, right? Like it's a good feeling. We got to 8-3-1. We got the win. End result. Now, I don't know if the end kind of erases the means, if you will. I don't like how we got there. I still think there's some things to clean up. I think there's some positivity. I do like the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway is, boy, am I happy with our offensive line. I think we figured some things out on the offensive line part. I think our protection was excellent. I thought Jordan Love basically staying clean the entire day. I mean, he had a few that he had to leave the pocket, but our offensive line looks solid. But at the end of the day, we're a patchwork offense. Like we're not when now, is it a good thing that Dontavian Wicks leads our offense in yards? Yes, it is. Now there's a constant there, number 9 on their wide receivers. He's there and he has been there in the years past. But Dobbs wasn't really a factor, which is fine. We won without him. I'd like to see a little bit. I do want to go back to game management. That was one of the takeaways that I thought I didn't see much change there. I will tell you where I did see change overall was successful. I mean, Watson scored that 40-yard pass for Watson, if you recall, was on a 2nd and 10. So when you do play action, it works. It's proven. And I hope you don't forget that, Matt LaFleur, because that did work. And we caught him in man-to-man, which I know the Lions play a great deal of man-to-man. Protection held up. We had time. We threw a 40-yard pass, and Watson came through. Good pass again. I thought lastly, Dilly, I thought that Jordan Love threw some darts. He threw some bad ones too, but you're going to get that. Overall, I thought he was throwing well. Running game's still not where it needs to be, but I thought our protection was A+.
Yeah, I one of my keys to victory or thoughts heading into the game was that we're gonna beat them up through the air a little bit, and for the most part, we did that. I guess siding with you a little bit here, it was a better offensive day, it was a better passing day, but it didn't necessarily feel, have that unstoppable passing game feel. It kind of felt, I mean, we made all the big plays, but um, if you want to slow our roll a little bit, it's like there was a number of catches where it was just in bounds, like the back foot stayed down long enough to secure the catch on the one Wicks touchdown and a Watson third down catch. I mean, it was kind of razor thin. It felt good to make the big plays. It would have, and the fourth down plays were huge to go three for three on those. But if you're really clicking and you're hitting on all cylinders, you don't find yourself in fourth down plays. And, there was a little bit too much miraculous out there to really feel like, all right, we did it. The offense is going. We're back, baby. Not quite there yet, but that adds to the fun when everything's kind of miraculous and diving catches. Your guy Musgrave, doesn't show up a ton, but makes a diving 21-yard catch whenever we ask him to the last couple games. So we'll take that. We'll take Wicks being a factor, just another guy to be a factor. Talking about the Lions a little bit, I think we talked about Dan Campbell's willingness to say, F it, we're going Gibbs and we're going Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's how they came back against the Giants. That's a good formula for them. But I think we did mention that there's a little razor's edge there too. I wasn't suggesting necessarily that what if a guy goes down to injury, which happened to St. Brown. It was more like you can just take out one of the guys. And I think the Packers essentially took Gibbs out of the game and then St. Brown got hurt. And when that's the thing that you fall back on an offense, the Lions were vulnerable as soon as those two things happened. Whereas with the Packers, Wicks pops up, Dobbs made a catch or two, caught a touchdown, made some important plays, but you can kind of take a guy or two away. Kraft can get hurt, unfortunately, and we're still just running the same offense because we just have enough talent at each position that somebody's going to take over um, on a good day in any case. So you know, a lot to be happy about, but there's definitely a little restraint in the enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of how I felt all season, right? There's just question marks, and I don't think any of those question marks really got answered yesterday. I mean, did we beat a good team? Of course, we beat a good team, right? Like, but there's still question marks going into next week's game. I mean, a week from Sunday, are we for real? I mean, that's what we don't. I didn't feel that in our championship seasons. And let's be realistic. As a Packer fan, we're not satisfied with a division title. We're not satisfied for a one playoff win, as maybe one of our friends in Lions country are happy with. Getting there. That's not what we're happy. We need to be the NFC Championship, the Super Bowl. That's a successful season. So we're not talking little steps. I need to feel a little bit better. We need to keep seeing progress. Yes, we have plenty of time in the season. We're trending in the right direction. But as you said, I
Yeah,
see too many boundary passes. I think we left too much to a coin flip yesterday. Let's be honest. You and I had a small argument via text. I do not make that call on fourth and at the end of that fourth and game, essentially. I punt that ball, make him go 80. Because here's the deal. Our defense is playing well. Look around. Be honest, Dilly, and look at all of the teams that win the championship, the Super Bowl, and even in Packer history, those teams that won the Super Bowl, yeah, we were good offensively, but that was built on the back of defense. I mean, that was absolutely built in the back of defense. The team that comes to mind for me is the Joe Flacco led Ravens back in, I don't know, early 2000s when they won the Super Bowl. All Joe Flacco had to do was throw 7 yards and just stay clean in the pocket and not turn it over. Now, that's not who the Packers are, but I certainly think that there's a recipe in success there with our defense. They're solid. They're playing well. We are a bend but not don't break. When we keep the Lions down like we have, the Eagles down like we have, the one blip on that radar screen is probably the Cowboys game. But be honest, we have the defense to stay in games. We don't have to. We shouldn't be taking chances that aren't unneeded. We're up 7 points. Play smart. Play the odds. Yes, it worked out yesterday. I agree. It worked out. We went for fourth down. Dontavian Wicks made a great catch, by the way. It's a poor pass. If you look at that, that's a bad pass. It's a high pass, but Dontavian made a great catch, one shoe or not. But we don't get that, and it's a different game, right? We don't get if Walker doesn't get the fumble recovery on the drive that put us up by 10 in the third quarter, we also are in trouble. So there's a lot of things that fell by chance to the Packers. Let's be realistic in what it was. Are not a finished product. We're not a knock the team out. Everybody's going to be in the game, and then as in turn, we might get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs.
yeah. I will say, around 3 p.m. on Thursday, you know, I was a little outside of space time reality at that point, celebrating the success of the fourth down call. And I did text you again upon rewatching the game at about 10 p.m. after my aforementioned nap and watching the night game. I did I did have a better sense of the extreme risk of that call, and even really the extreme. I guess on fourth down, you know, it's a risky throw. He's kind of thrown back to his left. It's kind of lobs it up there. In a sense, he's thrown it high. Only the receiver really has a chance to make a play on the ball. And if it's picked, it's a punt anyway. Kind of. I don't know if, Love was thinking all of that, but I'm sure he was aware it's third down or fourth down. We're going for it. And a little bit of a chuck it up there isn't that big of a deal. But like I mentioned at the onsite, you'd feel real good if you just never had to worry about a fourth down play. You know, that's where you really start to believe the offense is firing in all cylinders.
The best
I
example
know
of
we did.
that, Dilly, is how close were the Lions to being us and us being the Lions in that game yesterday. I mean, it's 0 for 2 and fourth down with the Lions. If they get those first downs, it's a whole different story. If Jameson Williams or if that pass is better to Jamo on the last fourth down in the third quarter, it's a different game.
Yeah.
And we could easily be talking today about a 3-point loss because they kicked a field goal to win the game at the end, right? Like that they probably go Jamo if he catches that might be in the end zone,
Yep.
right? Like
And I'll
they're
I'll say, I've been less critical of LaFleur, more willing to let it all come together this year. I hope, and I have a sense because he has had times when he's done this, extra aggressive on fourth downs and that sort of thing. Um, I hope he's able to ebb and flow with that. With the Lions, probably to their detriment, which we've covered a lot, is everybody knows that's kind of their thing. So everybody also prepares for it all week. Packers, at least to some degree, you're catching the defense off guard because what has LaFleur traditionally done? Or what does he do a lot of the time? Take the three, too conservative. Um, so hopefully he keeps the ability to change it up. It can't be go for every fourth down. You can't, you mentioned kind of being flippant and turning it into lines. I don't think the right answer is every game we're going on all these fourth downs and really high leverage plays. So we'll see how that turns out. I know we didn't have this on the agenda. I'm going to do one of these. Well, the Bears have the ball again. I don't know what happened, but the Bears are concerning me. What I was going to allude to is the Lions are a good team. We're on the road, good place for aggression. Um, And we might find out throughout the rest of the day that maybe the Bears prove it a little bit. I didn't like the looks of their run game in the part of the initial part of the game I watched. We did a good job stopping Gibbs, but that's more of a one man show, extreme talent kind of thing. The Bears are just blocking well and creating holes. That's could be a concern, though we're not doing a preview today.
Yeah, I mean, I here's my hesitation. This kind of sums it up. I'll be to the point so you can get on with the show today. But I worry about Matt LaFleur and his game management as it pertains to those fourth down plays. Like that is my concern. I don't trust him. And I don't know how many guys on the roster trust him. Of course, it's easy to say, what a great play. Thanks for being brave. But is it a manufactured? Is he listening to folks like us? I know he's listening to us, but it's not just this podcast that's talking about his game management. Were those decisions driven off of what he's been hearing? Fuck it. I've been too conservative. People are looking for me to be a little bit wild. But I want you to be wild and crazy in the right moments. Like you got to weigh. Now, it says analytics say 50-50, but analytics say 50-50 because it was 4th and 3. Analytics they don't say 50-50 when you're up by 7. And your defense is playing the way it does. It's probably 70-30 there. So he took the 30, in my opinion, and he won. I get it. So that's why I watched you win in blackjack the other night up at Turtle Lake. The odds are with the house, but you're going to win some. But long term,
Yeah.
if you're going to be honest with me today, you're not up long term. You're probably still down.
Well,
That's what I'm
no,
afraid
we
of.
we turned up the aggression late at Turtle Lake, and it was good time for aggression, and then we got the hell out of there with a victory.
You're
So
welcome for the assist.
much like the Packers did yesterday, I'm going to side with. I do think it was a conscious decision um, due to circumstance, road, divisional opponent, tough game, tough team. I think it was in the game plan to go in those circumstances. I don't think it was a, you know, reaction to maybe being too conservative or anything like that. Other than the Audible angle, I don't know how much LaFleur listens to other shows. I know normally he texts me, good show. So I know he gets this he subscribes and does get the notification. So do that at your leisure. And some year we will figure out how to put up the thing that pops up at least on YouTube that says click here to subscribe. We'll do that someday. Um, let's move on so we keep the pace going a little bit because, like I said, we're not doing full preview of next week, and we got a lot of football to ingest, including the game on over what is my right shoulder. I don't know if we're reversed in the final camera angle, but um, so we got a lot more to digest before we can even properly preview the game next week. We do have, and many fans have been asking for it, subscribers, listeners, viewers. We teased it a little while back. Welcome back to possible relevancy. U.S. men's national soccer team as we wind through some friendlies preparing for the World Cup next summer. Can you reset all the way back to some of your feelings of our South American domination tour against Paraguay and Uruguay?
Um, I overall you can be satisfied, right? Because it wasn't necessarily our Gold Cup B team that played those games, right? It wasn't that. I mean, it was maybe a mixture of the A B. If I'm going back to college and most of my grades,
Yeah.
it was more of an A B. That's a slight for those of you that knew me in college. That was not my grades, but let's pretend for today that was my grades in college.
You aspired to AB.
Yes, yes. But so overall, I was impressed. I was impressed with their final third play. We had chances and we finished them, which is not something we saw 4 years ago in the World Cup. We saw a lot of possession. We do not. I mean, what U.S. fans, true U.S. fans, are looking at, and when they think the U.S. men's national team, well, we're going to possess the shit out of it, but when we get in the final third, we can't finish because we don't have a true striker. Bulagoon was supposed to be that guy, but he's not. He hasn't been. So we finished. There's some new guys that are scoring against Uruguay, and a lot of them. There's reason for positivity in the red, white, and blue in that camp. I think if you're Punch, you're happy as ever. I mean, whatever you've been doing for the past 2 years in the training sessions is paying off. It's paying dividends. There is a true end of the day. There is a true competition coming into this last camp for the last two friendlies. There is a competition, and I don't think guys like Adams and maybe Pulisic. I think Pulisic. You and I agree that I think Pulisic's kind of a lock for the team. He's our best player. I mean, he's Captain America for a reason. But there are some players, Sergio Dest, McKinney. Those guys have some question marks about them because there is a true competition now, and that's a great, healthy thing in the U.S. I guarantee you that there's competition with the Netherlands, with Denmark, with some of the other top teams in Spain. There are competition in those training sessions. That's where we needed to get to. So I think we're there. If we put it together on the pitch, that's a whole nother story, and that's 6 months down the road, right? That we have to worry about that. We don't kick this thing off until June. But right now, I'm satisfied with where we are. I do want to see our true first 11 play. That's what we have to see coming up here. We do have to see a real true 11, and I'd like to see it on the next two friendlies and then the two friendlies that lead into June. But right now, there's reason for positivity, and I'm one of them. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I'm firmly on the bandwagon. Not like I've ever jumped off of it, but there's reason for optimism in the camp.
It might be too simple to just, you mentioned it's an AB team, sort of, some of the guys that maybe, well, certainly we wouldn't think of as locks to even make the team, certainly not locks to be in the first 11. Berhalter comes to mind, but it seemed like, and again, this is dumbing it way down, but it was almost a little bit of a throwback to when U.S. teams did, the mantra or the perception was a little less talent, a little more hard work, a little more fight, a little more grind to them. And I don't know if some of the most talented guys weren't available or weren't in this camp, a little more grit and a little more toughness seemed to shine through. Um, I wanted to. This will be kind of a combo question because you mentioned him already, but I'm going to relate it to the potential, it seems like reality now, formation change, and both competition wise and formation change wise, I'm thinking of Weston McKinney. How much flexibility on where he can play is there? And is there really a spot for a guy who's been kind of a stalwart, does pretty well for club in Europe for a lot of years? Is he the type of guy that you might end up leaving out just because of the formation and the shape that we're playing in? As far as forward players, there's better forward players. There's better, if we're doing kind of two holding midfielders, two, we'll call him Tyler Adams type. He doesn't perfectly fit into one of those spots. Where do you think a guy like that leaves? And Do you like the look of the formation tweaks?
Yeah, I mean, I think in your vision, let's just make sure that we're talking the same formation. I mean, it's kind of a a three. I guess they're playing with four center backs or four in the back line, but then there's two holding midfielders, right? And then there's three above that, and then one striker. Is that the formation that you envision that being?
Well, and this takes a little bit from other people explaining it. I mean, I think on paper, on the lineup
Fourth that one.
sheet when they show
Can't
it,
find one.
it looks like a three-man back line. That's almost, but when they actually lose possession and have time, they do kind of switch into a four-man back line defensively. So it kind of morphs as the play goes on, but it's isn't it like
Three
Robinson,
five two.
hasn't he been in the middle and then Ream and then was Freeman one of the back three? Or
Yeah, well, Freeman was playing like a wing back. So what they when they
okay.
start in a four man back line, you've got two center backs, but those what it's supposed to be is when you're possessing, you actually play three in the back, and then one of the wing backs, those outside backs, they're technical, right? You've got those players. Serginho Dest fits in that. Quite frankly, that you're talking about McKinney, Weston McKinney fits in that right wing back's position. He's not ideal because he doesn't defend as much, and he doesn't have a lot of pace going against a striker type or their other winger, but he is good enough to get into that midfield. So you're trying to filter more guys in the midfield. So yes, you're playing three to play that type though, Dilly. Our biggest problem, I like the formation, but our biggest problem is I'm not sold on our center backs yet. You have to have a strong three back, and there's not they don't exist. Miles Miles Robinson probably was that guy before he did his Achilles, and that was 4 years ago, right? He did his Achilles then. He's not the same player. I don't care what he says or what pundits say. He's not the same guy, and we have really struggled finding that. To get to your point in your question, the 2 points. You actually made 2 points or two questions. I like the formation change because we are heavy on midfielders, and Weston McKinney fits in that, right? And you have to add Freeman into that. You have to add Tillman, and then you can't forget about Weah and some of the stalwarts. We do have some strengths in there. That's why we have to play with five there. But I do like if in that sense we do play with two holding midfielders, okay? And I think Weston probably fits best in that, McKinney, in that one of
Yeah.
those holding midfielders, but you have to pair him with someone that does all the running. And that is Tyler Adams in years past. I don't know if Tyler Adams is that guy. That could be Freeman, that could be Tillman, but we need a guy that does a lot of the running because what McKinney does a really good job of is spraying the ball to everyone. Like we need the ball at his feet and spraying it from that sixth position is the way it should work, right? And then you can get forward off of that. So in years past, McKinney has played in a forward position. He maybe played the 8 or the 10 in the midfield. I see him now as a 6. You kind of slide him back, which isn't abnormal. You put your better technical players and you can spray it and going forward when you have other strengths. Pulisic is one of those strengths going forward. I think Weah is one of those guys. Freeman has shown that he can find the back of the net. And then you fill in with an attack, with a kind of a holding forward, and then Bulligan. You got to try to find a spot for him too. And maybe he's best at a 10, but it is a clunky kind of it's really going to come down to what Ponch decides to do because there's going to be some tough decisions come final roster time. And I don't think McKinney is left off because he works hard, but he doesn't do all the running like you're saying. I think Tyler Adams does when healthy, but he's got to get healthy and stay healthy. I think Tillman is maybe that guy as well because he's got some strength and he's got some hit to him, and you need that out of your sixes. So I like the formation. You're gonna find a place for McKinney because he is dangerous going forward at the end of the day too, Dilly. But
Yeah.
reason for positivity. That was a long ranting answer to your question, but I mean you also cannot forget what Diego Luna has been doing for us in the midfield. That guy is dangerous and he holds the ball. I mean, he might be slight of stature in height wise, but strength and possessing the ball, the guy's solid as Sears and he knows how to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's what we've been missing for years.
Yeah, I would say just recollecting of who we think of as our past best 11, and they're all young. Last World Cup, they're all young. They're still not even really old by any means yet. It will feel good if it is And Adams, I agree with you. Health is the biggest thing for him because if he's going to run, he's that kind of gritty, cover the whole field. He normally covers the most field. You know, when they show the little blobs of where guys have played, he's everywhere. He gets back. So if you had a healthy Adams and McKinney can get in there, that'll give a comfortable feel of you got two guys who have been very good, both on there. But you know, like you brought up Tillman, a lot of people like Tillman, and then well, little little wrinkle in here. I mentioned it last time. Uh, it just feels good to have Gio Reyna playing again with the team and looking like a guy that whether he's playing a lot at club or called into camp or not into camp. It's interesting to see a guy that, you know, everybody's always said he's had the talent. Injuries have come up, weird team move, club moves, and things haven't always worked out. But you can just tell he's a little different when he's on the pitch and he plays. Is that a casual fan take or is that you can see the talent whenever he's actually on and is in there mentally and physically.
I'm glad you brought him up. There's a couple of points I like to make about Berhalter. I think number one, the biggest thing that's helped him is his dad's no longer coaching the team. I think that's difficult for a player. I know from being a coach of a boy, and I'm a former coach's kid. That's a hard thing to do because everything you do is wrong. And it's not only wrong on the pitch, it's wrong when you go home, it's wrong when you're on the phone, it's wrong when you're in the car, it's wrong all the time. So when they remove Berhalter, it's kind of a new lease on life, right? And I felt it when I went to college. I was like, man, and I'll tell you right now, my dad was a great coach. And my kid would probably tell you that I was a good coach too, but it's hard to be the coach's kid. Number one. So remove that. Now I will tell you I've seen the talent. There's talent there, but the biggest thing with him is between his ears. And this role that he is in, and this is probably to the detriment, I'll make the point here, Berhalter is good enough to be on that team, but he's good enough in his roles. And I don't know, Jim, if you can keep a guy on the team, or maybe you do, that his primary role is taking free kicks. Right? That is the reason he's so confident because he has a role. He knows that he's going to be. If there's anything within 50 yards of the 18-yard box, he is going to take that kick. Unless it's 20 yards out, and then you're going to have a more shooting guy, right? But I mean, they even the last game in Uruguay, they made a play for him off the corner kick, and he put it in the back of the net. So he's proven his worth. And almost every free kick ball he has is in a dangerous position. That's where it is. He's solid there. But I don't know if that tips the scales enough to him to take a spot on the team. Because if you do, you almost have to put him in the first 11 because he's got to be on the field to do that. Otherwise, you're wasting a roster spot, right?
Yeah. Now, you might have went telepathic there a little bit because Berhalter was the next guy in my mind. I was asking about Gio Reyna.
Oh, sorry. Gio Reyna. I'll answer that question too. I think Gio Reyna is an easy leave off the roster. I think
Really?
I just do. I think that there's a lot of hype around him. And honestly, if you read through what Ponch is saying, there's a lot of politics that follows Reyna through that. Like, understand who his dad is.
Yeah.
Okay. Understand who he is and where he is in the organization or was in the organization. There's a lot of politics. Don't kid yourself. So Ponch has been already leading. He's foreshadowing all of this. And people are thinking that he's foreshadowing it for McKinney or for Adams or for Pulisic. He's not. He's just squashing this elephant in the room that says Gio Reyna deserves to be our star and he's going to be the star. Well, I'll tell you right now, folks, the guy doesn't get a lot of time on club either. So he's not playing a lot of soccer in high level soccer. Is he on a good team? Sure he is, but he doesn't. Guys like Aronson have more value overall on a team than Gio Reyna does, and he looks lazy. He doesn't do the defending, and that's what Ponch asks you to do. He does ask you to do both sides of the ball, and that's why guys like Freeman and Tillman, they're trying to earn their spot. That's why those guys are competing and playing so well, and that's what has helped the United States national team. Just because of your last name doesn't get you into this team. right? So I think he's foreshadowing for that specific position of Reyna. Sorry, I missed your question. I was leading it another way, but I think he's an easy way off because what he's done for club and country don't match the hype, man. They don't.
Yeah, it was probably good to almost mix those two together, Berhalter and Reina, because they both obviously have a significant last name, but they're almost opposite. Berhalter is the gritty, doesn't have all the talent in the universe. He has some particular skills that you did mention on set pieces where, it's like one of those where you wish you could sub freely in soccer because you'd have them in certain spots all the time. And if the rest he seems like a guy like you need a guy like that on your team. You need some guys like that on your team. And if you're right, if Reyna, a talented guy that doesn't at all times bring all the other stuff you need, it'd be nice if there wasn't a political angle with him and, the star is born and then he's dead and now he's reborn. Is he the next big name? If there wasn't all that attached to Reyna, I do think that you'd want a roster spot for him because you might need him. It reminds me of the World Cup where Josie went down, and then we didn't really have anybody else. So all of a sudden, Donovan's, he's basically got to do everything that World Cup. I think that was at 14, maybe. I don't know, whatever year that was. But Reyna is, if you didn't have any side business with him. He could just be a talented guy where you're like, hey, we're down to two guys. Somebody's got a couple yellows. We can put him on the field and have some talented opportunities to score, create scoring. Um, I guess I was reacting a little bit too to, I mean, he's back for the first time in a year, and the hype train went pretty overdrive as he got a goal and sort of assisted on another. He got a hockey assist on another goal, so people were excited about it. Um,
Yeah, I'm over him, Dilly. I know if you've got a follow up question here. I'm over him. I leave him out, and it's not a question because I'd rather see a Diego Luna who works his tail off and he's dangerous going forward, and he will defend. I've seen Diego Luna make runs of 70 yards to get back on defense, and that dude is not built for pace. But he gets back there because he's got more heart than he has pace, and I'll take those kind of players, and maybe that's what's going to get us over the top because everybody was always yelling. And the reason that the reason Gio Reyna, there was hype on him is because he's got all the technical skills in the world. Like he's a star in the making on paper, but he doesn't put it on the field. Right. And now you've got a guy like Diego Luna who cares more about the next tattoo he's going to get and kind of creeping up towards his nostrils with tattoos than he does about the hype train about how he's good on the on he will do the intangible things that I think Ponch likes. And that's where you've got to take some of these young guys that don't know any better, mix them in with some studs with like some of the old guards so they can tell you how it is that they didn't lose that. Like they still have the drive to be good and they want to see the red, white, and blue on the podium someday. I think that's still a stretch. But I think that Reyna's left off. I think that's not going to be a popular decision. But here's the deal: you get paid to make the unpopular decisions, and I think Ponch is willing to do that because he's got no connection to that politics side. Like he doesn't care. He's here to do a job. He's here to get the U.S. as high as he can. Drop him. And then I do want to take some time, and I know that you're kind of a proponent of our back four and our center back specifically, but who do you like there? That is my biggest weakness on this side. I think that Freeze has kind of solidified himself as a starting goalkeeper because I do look at the goalkeeper as being this top end of that. He hasn't made very many mistakes. I do like Matt Turner. Like I'm not a Matt Turner apologist in any way, shape, or form, but I think Freeze has more at this time in his career, he's better athletically than Turner is. And I think what hurt Turner was going overseas and not playing. Like he played in the Premiership because he was good enough to get there and then he stopped playing. Freeze stayed in the MLS and now look what he's doing, right? Like it's kind of fun to watch. I want to hear your take on the center backs that we have. and their mentality, and then I'll rebuttal it because I'm not happy with what we have, and I think that's the biggest thing that United States soccer is missing right now is a good center back.
Well, I don't mean to answer your question with a question, but I'm trying to think here. We talked about Miles Robinson, and who the hell's who's number one? Is it Mark McKenzie, would you say?
Yeah, Mark McKenzie's probably the first guy, and I don't like where he plays club. He plays in France for a kind of a second tier
Well,
squad in Toulouse. Like he's okay. Is he okay? Yeah, but is he that's your quarterback of a soccer team, man? Like that's who you're looking at, and I don't like him, but he is our number one.
yeah, or it's either that or it's Chris Richards. Um, and now that's who I couldn't think of actually when I was stalling for a second. The problem with those two is they're nondescript enough that I just confused the two of them and kind of blended them into one person. I think it's those two, and it's Miles Robinson would be the three that you'd hope come to the top, just because we always talk about Tim Ream. Like, how is that still a thing other than, he's a solid vet, maybe,
He should be on the
foundation guy
coaching
or
staff.
something, but you just hope you don't have to play him. Um, and I am not a center back apologist. I'm concerned about center back as much as anybody, and I don't know. It might, there's always time. I think between those three, like you can get by, but it's definitely remains the weak point of the team. And leave Riemann there. Those four is who I assume. I don't think a guy like Cameron Carter Vickers or anybody else is gonna. That's probably the bigger problem. There isn't anybody else, so it's you can't even really talk about. You just like what you got, and that's what we got. I know you'd have to go pretty deep on into the youth program, which has had success. The U17s did pretty good in the World Cup, but none of those guys, I don't think anybody's going to come out of the woodwork and surprise us at center back. So I think we just got to deal with what we have. I did have a question on our other Robinson, Anthony Robinson, and this is more of a, again, casual guy that doesn't know anything. If we have a lot of options in kind of that wingback area, um, could Anthony Robinson be a center back? If we just said, look, we need more speed, more athleticism. None of these guys are distinguishing themselves. Is that a way at all that you'd consider or that could be considered to get him on the field?
You
And
can, but I think the best. I agree, Dilly. You could. Um, I think you do a disservice to the team by not putting him as a wingback. I think he's one of the most dangerous players when he gets near the 18. Like he's just real heady, and he's also one of our better one-on-one defenders. He's our one of the best, if not the best, still the best at one-on-one defending, which is important, especially on the wing. That he shuts down a lot of forward movement from the other team. Anthony is probably one of our most technical defenders. He's got good stature. I think you put him in there. I think you see where he's at in the training sessions, but I don't know. I think it might just be. I feel like it's just me that doesn't like, or maybe me and you that don't like our center backs. I think that everybody is okay with Chris, Richards, okay with Mark McKenzie, and yeah, I mean Miles is serviceable. We don't put much emphasis on that now, which is weird because in the youth United States youth leagues, center backs are one of the most important positions, especially when you possess the ball. But I don't hate that, but I think honestly, if we're at that point, we've got more trouble because now you have to play Serginho Dest in that left back position, where I think he's better in the right back position. I don't know
yeah,
who else plays right back if it's not Serginho. I do like Anthony and Serginho right and left back because they can go forward and they're dangerous. So I think that they're
fast.
better served there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying they're fast. In summary, that move would be subtraction by subtraction if you took him off
Correct.
left wing duty.
Yeah, I think we're hurting ourselves overall because then we hurt. Anthony kind of is that spark in the back line that gets our offense moving, right? Like that goes forward. You go everything good goes through Anthony and Weston McKinney. Like that's bottom line. And here's to get back to your point with Tim Ream. I think we take him off of being on the if he is on the field to start any single game in the World Cup, we are in big trouble because Tim Ream is more valuable as on the coaching staff than he is on the pitch. Like the guy is an Iron Man to be playing at this level and the level that he is, and I think he's moved now back to the. I think he's playing MLS now, I believe, with Charlotte, and it's probably the best spot for him to play another 2-3 years because he's serviceable. He's just really smart. He knows the game. He sees it. He's more valuable for the United States men's national team as a fourth assistant than he is a player at this point.
Yeah, the now I read the article and it was about as clear as mud um on how the pot selection works and not smoking pot, the World Cup selections and you can't have is it pots one, two, three, and four or A, B, C, and D, whatever they are. I
Yeah, I think it's
believe the way it was sounding like it was working out is we're gonna play it, it's D, letters or numbers.
letters.
Yeah, I think it sounded like our third match. Like, and I don't know how this is all determined. And there's all the stuff where there can't be two CONCACAF teams, but there can be two UEFA teams. How it all sorts out. But I think our third match, as of this article, and we can just say if this isn't correct, it theoretically could still happen. I think it's most likely that we'll play our D team in the third match. That's the match where hopefully we have a bunch of points in the bag, and then maybe our fourth assistant Tim Ream can start that match against a Pod C or Pod D team, and points in the hand already, and we're close into the round of 16.
Yeah, I think I believe that what's weird this year is because we basically have three host nations, and I believe the host nations are all number ones, right? They're going to be
Right.
the number ones throughout the division. So I mean, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. both get ones, and then you've got some of the national powerhouses as well, which is weird because I'll be honest, Mexico has not played like a number one. Canada arguably is probably a number one. In the U.S. maybe I don't even know if in the world their ranking is it like top 10 right now? Is the U.S. Number 9 maybe?
I,
I
I
don't even
think
know if
it's
they've cracked it.
I thought it was 14, and I don't know if that was updated before or after the last friendlies, but and I do believe that the World Cup, they did have some lower limit. I think if, somehow any of those three teams would have fallen, they might have moved down a pot if they were below 30 in the rankings or something, but none of them were. Everybody was looking. Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah,
It's 14, correct?
let's see. Almost there. Got to work with the interwebs here.
Yeah.
Spain
I just
1,
pulled.
Argentina 2, France 3, England. Yeah, they're not top 10. Yeah,
Not
14.
top 10. Yeah,
14.
14. And I think, is Mexico 15 or is that Canada?
Uh, of course, I only have the Mexico is 15, Uruguay is 16. They've dropped. US went up 2 to get to 14. So I assume that that's after the two Paraguay Uruguay wins. Italy is dropped. I think we play Italy. I believe we still play Italy and France and Spain, right? Like that's who we play.
I think we have three friendlies left. I think Germany's in there
Yeah.
because yeah, that's kind of was part of the article too, because we solidified that we were eligible to be a pot one or pot A ball, as we were likely to be anyway. But once that was confirmed, that opened up friendlies against other pot A teams, because then they don't want to play anybody that's going to be in their group necessarily, or schedule a friendly against somebody that could, even as an outside chance, be in the same group. So I think you're right. It might. I'm pretty sure it's Spain, Germany, and the one I forget is probably Italy. And I think those are March, and then I think the Germany one is like June in Chicago, like the one that's right before the World Cup, which it's hard to. I'm sure the earlier friendlies, those are going to be big. You never know what to think too much about the one right before the World Cup because anybody that you know breaks out in a sweat is probably going to be rested, and I don't know. Depends. We'll see how they play those. Overall, you're liking Ponch, though. I remember last time you liked his statement on the roster. You like his stance on the roster. He's hardlining it. He's canceling out any noise from outside. Doesn't give a shit really.
Yeah, I do. I think he's good, and I think he gives a different type of look on the play. It's not an American type system, and he doesn't coach like an American, and that's what we need. Yeah, there's arguments that we brought in German coaches before, and it's all looked the same, but he's kind of a no nonsense. Plus, I don't understand half the fucking words he says. Like he's speaking English, but it's so broken that you really don't understand it. And I'm sure his the players are the same. Like I think he said this, so we're gonna go out and do this, but I'm not really sure what he means. You know, the term "suffer" is kind of a fun soccer term. Like you have to learn to suffer, which is in a sense all that means is you have to be able to play without possession. Right, like use suffering is a fancy word of just learn how to mark and be okay without the ball. And I kind of laugh at that because yeah, American soccer is basically becoming English soccer from 1988, where we just get it in the back and kick it hard to our really good players up front and let them play. I mean, there's a lot more to it, right? We possess the ball a little bit more than most, but yeah, I like the way he's coaching, and you can't argue with the results, right? Like we're competing against some good teams. I will be interested. Last time I saw our national team play Germany, it was a joke, but I think that was like Gold Cup roster or maybe below that. In that we tried to play the Germany friendly because I think it was during the Gold Cup and that's who we had. Something weird, like it wasn't during an international break, but somehow Germany had all their studs and we had like no one. I think we lost 5-1 or something like that. So I like it. Man, I mean, I've always followed the game on the national team level, but boy, there's a reason for some positivity here going into the World Cup. I do think we need to temper our expectations because I mean, we are Americans, so we think when we're high on a team, it's like, yeah, we're going to the finals. We're beating. We're going to beat Spain. Here's the deal, man. Spain national team compared to the U.S. National team is apples and oranges. We're not where they are. They're leaps and bounds above us. Could we muddy it up and compete? Maybe, but they'll beat us 2-0 at the end of the day anyway.
I mean, I think, and this might be different than when we talked about it. Whenever we talked about it, hard to keep track of time and place, but winning a round of 16 match. I think with how things have gone in the past 12 months, winning a round of 16, obviously advancing from the group, winning the group, preferably, if we're going to be pot eight, um, winning a round of 16 match would be wildly successful. I think that would be a great success. And then yeah, if we're facing Spain or however it works out in the round of 8 match, that would be we're in round of 8, we'd already most likely be in the realm of monumental upset or huge, maybe not monumental, but huge upset. We're all, we're good enough to be win a round of 16 match, hopefully, potentially. We should have potential to win that. And then by the next round, it's already getting into monumental type of heroics needed to win a match, and that's just being realistic. Anything beyond that, is you start to wonder about some sort of supernatural forces intervening. Um,
Well, and look at last World Cup, right? Like I think there's a little bit of luck to it too. You got to look at how England went through and got into as high as they did. I think there's a little bit of luck on who you play, right? Like if you play an aging Croatia who got in your round of 16 game, like I think you have a real good shot there. Like I'd like our chances against a Croatian team who's in the top 10. I'd like our chances against an aging Portugal team. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where I think a little bit of luck comes into that round of 16 game that gets you to the 8, and then maybe somebody else gets upset by an upstart team that's playing well. But you just don't want to run into Spain. Hey, I would like to see Argentina. Who knows if Messi's going to be playing on that team, and if he is, he's aged, right? He's not the same player. He's still one of the best players in the world, but I'd like our chances with Argentina in the round of 16. I don't want to play the Netherlands. I don't want to play Germany. I don't want to play Belgium, but even Belgium is maybe a little bit aged too, right? But they've got other players that are up and coming that I don't even know who they are. I will come World Cup time, but I do think we're good enough to be in the round of 16, and then let's maybe get a little luck. Maybe it's hidden, or it looks like luck, but that's how that's how the matchmakers made it so that the U.S. can shine when it's on their whole soil. Who knows? So I think there's a little bit of factor there too, and see how well the U.S. play.
You bring up an interesting thing with Argentina, even Portugal, even I feel like it's been about three World Cups where it sounds like they're trying to get Ronaldo out of being the full-time man. He still gets it done sometimes. But those aging teams, especially thinking about Messi in Argentina, I think a big factor for them, and we're not going to break down all the teams, although after the Packers win the Super Bowl, we'll probably have some space to fill, and it might
Oh
take
yes,
us a couple months to fill in the World Cup analysis. But a team like that, I think a lot comes down to what do their group matches look like, and when do you get them? If they had to grind all three matches to advance or to secure the one spot out of their group, and you're catching Messi and the squad in the fourth or fifth match, like I don't think Messi's done. I know he still has some magic, but when you're asking him to play that much, if they're good enough to just, coast and he's playing 60 minutes for two matches, sit in a match, and then you get him fresh again for the round of 16, they could not look so old. And some of those teams would be the same way. So you're right, bringing up luck and just timing, and we'll, of course, the silly. I still think it's kind of silly, just heavy-handed with the yellows, the yellow card. When do they wipe them clean, like for the semifinals or something stupid now?
yeah, it's
It,
yes, they do. And hey, side note, if you're watching the Bears Eagles, they tied it up. They didn't tie it up. They're down by 9, and our buddy Williams just threw an interception to a lineman, so now the Eagles have the ball back. So that game is tightening up here at the end of the third. I like it. Caleb Williams is who we thought he was. So are the Lions. We
and
are who they thought we were.
we didn't spend a lot of time on that game, and we're not going to, other than to just say, as Packer fans as we are, it's kind of, you know, either we're going to handle our business against the Bears, in which case you're fine if they win this game, just to put a little put a little hurt on Philly. If the Bears lose, good. Let's just finish them off and wipe them out of it again under the premise of we believe we're going to take care of the Bears next week and potentially take care of them twice in over the course of 3 weeks. That's great. We don't even have to worry about the Bears, but uh, we'll take losses for either team today. I don't even know. I don't even want to think about whether if they somehow tie, does that help us or hurt us? I don't know. Um, Blue
I just want to
32.
see. I'm watching.
We're going to
I'm
audible.
let her rip. Go ahead.
We're at the 58-minute mark, and I think we've left the appropriate amount of time, 43 seconds, to break down the battle for the axe. Our fans, our many, many listeners and viewers, they've been desperately waiting to hear the Badger Ball. You gave them a little hope. Badger fan rallied to your call of if 18 games go the right direction and they beat the Gophers, could be bowl time for Fickle and the boys.
Yeah, I mean, we will be easily in the Midwest Great, and the Eagles just turned the ball over. Um, the Midwest Great Bowl, or something like the Credit Union of the East reunion of the Alumni Bowl. Like that would easily be one of our bowls, which would be solid because we'll get some stuff. The tush push backfired there on the squad. Looks like the scuffle and sorry, but yeah, Badger Nation is alive. Um, and our maybe I should stop watching this game because it just turns on a dime. It's like the I don't know. Anyway, I think I'm going to lean on you. Give me what we can expect from the Goofs. Like what are they about? And I'll give you really quick about what the Badgers are about. The Badgers are about defense. That's it. And they've got a freshman quarterback who can kind of sling it, and they've got some decent running backs that are like our sixth and seventh string running backs. So they're running for their scholarship lives, NIL lives. So what are the Goofs about?
Well, I'll interject actually on the Badgers real quick because I did look at their schedule. I mean, they've they've gotten better. I'll just say in summary on the Badgers, considering, the first two games they won, you kind of you know, not tough con out of conference matchups. Then they stunk pretty thoroughly for quite a while. And now
4 weeks.
they got a little more traction. They got, they're maybe feeling a little better, a little on the upswing. Gopher football has been, I tried to look into it a little bit deeper today, more than just feeling. There's a couple things. When Darius Taylor, D Taylor, longtime Gopher, you start to lose track of how long these guys are around. And Gophers once in a while, I know they had some linemen that were brother. You get some brothers in there. Um, with the same last name. They play together for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, after 9 years, you feel like the same guy's been there forever. When Taylor plays at running back, the offense is significantly better. What I would have told you for the last 7, 8 years leading up to this is that the defense is going to be fairly stingy, except, against Ohio State, extreme powerhouses. The defense is going to play pretty tough, but we're just going to run the shit out of the football. This year, there's been a lot more passing game, a lot more airing it out. The quarterback's fairly good. Um, it's been, I don't know if we call it full Jekyll and Hyde, but it's just you kind of don't know what the identity is this year. Because there are still some games that are run heavy. But if you would have told me that we had multiple games in the Big Ten season with guys, running backs 8 carries, 9 carries, 10 carries. It just wouldn't have even computed. And that's what will be interesting. If we were pound the rock and play defense, I would kind of know what to expect from this game, which would probably be if you're telling me Badgers defense has been getting better and they're mainly defense, not a lot of offense, I would have predicted, 17-13. Let's see who can, run the ball more, but the Gophers definitely air it out and they play less defense. And maybe that's a little instant reaction from the game at Northwestern. I don't know how you just have a barn burner shootout with Northwestern. But Badgers will likely be able to move the ball and score some points. Now, if their offense is truly, I mean, the quarterback play hasn't been great for the Badgers. So maybe, maybe the Badgers just won't have enough offense so, and Gophers more of a middling at on a good day defense um, will be enough, and the offense, through the air. I would guess it's going to be through the air. Although I do, if Taylor's playing, I have more confidence in the running game showing up, or just him individually making some plays. Um, I wouldn't say confidence is
Don't
sky high.
don't sleep on the last two games in our quarterback play. Now please understand, I believe this is our fifth starting quarterback this year. Like everybody has gotten injured. So the plan was not to play this quarterback this year. The plan was to redshirt him. He's a true freshman. I believe that he takes care of the ball a little bit better than the first four, but because of the threat of at least of him running, number one, and him being able to pass serviceably, he's got a good arm, but we don't attract. We wanted to play a this air raid game 2 years ago, we being the Badgers, But you
Yep.
can't. We don't have enough NIL money to throw around to get the big name wide receivers. They're not coming to Wisconsin. Sorry. So we're still going to get mid tier, maybe 3-star wide receivers. This is a 4-star quarterback out of high school. So it's a pretty good quarterback to come to Wisconsin, and he shows it, right? He's got great vision. And I think the last 2 games he's been much better than what our sum of the entire season would look like, which is to your point. We've gotten poor quarterback play, but there's like our quarterbacks, nobody knew who we are. And our offensive line on the Badgers isn't as what it used to be. But I will tell you, if you're telling me that the Gophers are going to look to throw the ball, that goes right into our defense, because I think our defense is strong on the front four with pressure. I think our 2 freshmen linebackers are solid, which then it kind of bodes well for years, next 2-3 years. If these guys stick around, you never know in the NIL world. These guys could leave to go to a bigger program, but I don't know if they get as much playing time at a bigger program, so they're going to probably stay and play. I like, if that's what you say that the Gophers are going to be, I like the Badgers' chances, and I like the because the Badgers have nothing to lose. They literally have nothing to lose. And to your point, are the Gophers playing for a bowl spot on Saturday? Are they looking for their 6th win?
No, they got 6. Yeah.
So okay, so they're firmly in. They'd like to finish in the top half of the Big Ten, I'm sure. So it's a rivalry game, right? Everybody wants to run around. It's at Minnesota, correct?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think it's going to be a good game. I'm definitely tuning in, but I do like the chances. I don't even know what the line is, but I bet you it's close to 50-50 right now, probably leaning towards Minnesota, maybe 60-40.
I'm looking at my phone right now. It says Wisconsin -2.5, favored on the road. And uh, glancing through the schedule, just, you know, now with every conference being 45 teams, you don't have all of the like opponents that you'd like to see. So you got to compare a little abstract. Um, Wisconsin has the 2 best wins out of either team, beating Washington and beating Illinois. In the Illinois team for different parts of the year that I thought was very good. They didn't really come through on all that, but I think they were pretty good. We beat, we being the Golden Gophers, we beat Nebraska, who was ranked at the time. I don't know, they stink. So we both got our doors blown off by Iowa. Um, I don't know if I agree Wisconsin is favored. That seems a little bit strange, but we didn't look that great. We barely beat Michigan State. We've gotten blown out by good teams. I think, if you just like watching football, I actually think it'll probably be a hotly contested game. I don't know if you'll see excellence in execution. I don't know if it's a Mr. Perfect match, but it is probably going to be closely contested for the Axe. And I'll tell you what, being on the wrong end of the Axe rivalry up until somewhat recently, I think it is. I meant to look that up. Whatever the record is, it's like within 1 game of even the historical all-time record, because Minnesota had a real huge lead, and then Wisconsin was dominant for 20 years for the most part. And then I think we might have gotten 3 out of 4. We've picked a couple back up to get it back to even. Um, what I was going to say to those in those lean Minnesota years, um, some of those victories, and even before I came to Minnesota, I believe it was the year before, in the origin of Badger football renaissance, going to the Rose Bowls and stuff. I believe the Gophers beat them for like their first or second win of the season, when the Badger fan was having hopes of being a 1 or 0 loss team and playing for a championship in a huge bowl. So loosey goosey, nothing to lose. That's and again, this isn't Minnesota or Wisconsin against Ohio State or Indiana in a rivalry game. These are fairly evenly matched teams, and loosey goosey, nothing to lose might be a better place to be going into a matchup like this.
Yeah, I agree, Dilly. I do think you have to factor in. I'm wondering if that favor is because Wisconsin's coming off beating 2 top 25 teams, and in probably games that they were double digit dogs, I would guess. I don't remember the lines for both those games, but I would guess that they were double-digit dogs in both of those. But here's the deal. I think the intangible to this is, what's worth more? Is it worth more? I'm sure this is senior day for the Gophers. Senior day was the Illinois game, the last game that the Badgers played. So there's some emotion there. But be honest, the Wisconsin Badgers are coming up. They think they're world beaters right now. They beat two top 25s. Who gives a shit about Minnesota, right? Like, we should go in there and beat them. So maybe there's a little overconfidence, but there's also confidence there that helps. So I think that probably counteracts it. And to your point, I think it's a good football game, and wouldn't be surprised to see this 10 points either way. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Badgers are in the weekend of it, or if the Badgers are on the positive. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. I'll tune in. I've got that earmarked for what I will watch. We can do some post game stuff there, but I will kind of stop my rant here and being like, you were right. Hey, you called the Packers. I was a pessimist of the Packers Lions. I'm happy I was wrong. Happy you were right. Did you rewatch our podcast last time? Did you choose the correct score?
I did. I think I was a little short on Lions points. So I think I might have said 31 in there. I think said 31-14 or 31-17. So Lions actually overperformed amazingly, according to my analysis. I will say, legally, and this is legal, um, I did legally tease the Packers from minus or plus 2.5. I teased it to minus 6.5 for a small time wager, not a big time wager, and that was a cash. And that was a little extra cheddar cheese, if you will, for a Packer fan that kind of felt that the Lions are pretty vulnerable. Um, so that felt pretty good. Official, my last point on the Badgers and Gophers, and this isn't hyperbole or trying to stick it to Badger fan because we've been on the wrong side of this a lot of my adult life. It is kind of, it's the Badger Bowl game, the Axe Trophy game, big rival. That's essentially, notwithstanding 18 teams going in the wrong direction and still getting selected for. This is all she wrote for them. I expect a pretty good Badger performance. I expect if I had to put money on this game, here's what I would do. I wouldn't. I wouldn't put money on this game. My because it is a thing where it's their highlight you win a trophy game, and for us, that's Iowa and Wisconsin primarily. I know we have one with Penn State and we have the little brown jug with Michigan, but who knows when the hell we even play those teams anymore half the time. Um, it does mean something. It can make a bad year feel good. Um, the one downside, the only way I can talk myself into the Gophers a little bit more is I do think it's easier for the team, the home team, the team that has a bowl game to maintain a lead. If it gets out to 10 zip, Gophers, drive the first drive, touchdown, get a three, they get up 2 scores. That's where I think the allure of winning a trophy game turns into this season sucked. Let's just get the hell out of here. Let's move on with our lives. Let's transfer. Now you got all these guys. That's a whole nother dynamic. Let's start thinking about what I got to get for me, and that's the Gophers' path to victory. I think is get a lead and maintain it for first half, and just get the second half like, it's kind of chilly. The the stands are kind of meh. Let's just get out of here and loot by 15.
Eat your heart out, Druzy. It's the Badgers in a close one. And I hope he's listening. And I will get a text from him. The Badgers over
Yeah,
the
he's been
Goofs.
asking for, and I don't know how to do this yet. We'll figure this out. How to do super chats, for when we go live stream, so then he can donate, $50, $100, just so we pay attention to his question, move his question to the top of the list. and we'll make that available for him. As of now, Druzy, you can always Venmo us, um, and or just hand us cash, like the old method for Jim Goes Personal. Hand us cash when you see us, and we'll bump your question right up to the top of the list. Maybe you have to get Druzy on for one of our men's national team center back segments. He's a known center
Yeah,
back that performed at a medium level. So
yeah. Well, he's a high end Division 1 guy out of the South St. Paul region. Enjoyed a very successful career in the back line for University of Wisconsin Green Bay. Right there,
he he broke down the
big
strategy
center.
for me one time. He said just clear it long to Herbs because Herbs is just standing down on the other end of the field waiting.
That was back in the day when he was a sweeper. He wasn't a center back because back in the day we played sweeper and stopper, baby. That was what we played, and he played the sweeper position. He was one of those guys that was way back, just kind of roaming the edges, baby. But he did a good job. He wasn't blessed with great pace, but he was blessed with very good tactical mind, and that was where he was. So I be worthwhile to get Drewzy's take on the U.S. men's national team as we kind of inch forward. And he's a good football mind too. So maybe we need to get him on a guest speaker here very
Yeah,
soon.
eventually we do have to test out the third party, um, which I'm pretty sure is pretty easy to do, but baby steps. See you
Like it.
soon. We'll break down on the Bears.
Later, brother.
Love you.